everybody. Thanks for choosing to spend your postprandial stupor time with me after lunch. That's the time when you get really tired after lunch. So I'll keep it to a nice level in case you fancy having a nap. So I'm here to talk to you today about empathy and what empathy means for resilience and why resilience is important, why we should care. When we talk about empathy, it's very empathetic of me to tell you a little bit about who I am first, because why should you care? Fair question. I'm a senior software engineer at a company called Segovia Carnegies Bank. We connect emerging economies with the global payment ecosystem, but that isn't really important for this talk. What's important for this talk is that I am a person. I work in tech, and I, for the first time, have experienced working in a tech where empathy comes first. And that has completely changed my view on my job and my industry. So why is empathy and resilience so important to me? Why am I here to talk to you about all of this today? The real reason is that I've never enjoyed coding more than now in an empathetic system. And I've never felt more strongly about being a part of a resilient team. And resilience is so important to me because I am a naturally very anxious person, and I've chosen to work in an industry where things will break. And it'll probably be my fault at some point. And to cope with that, and because I really love delivering quickly, but I don't really love being stressed out by it, I want to tell you a little bit about how you can turn your own team into a really high developing and high productivity team without the stress. So I spoke about resilience before, and I want to dig into this for a little bit first, why that can take like the stress out of your work life. To look at resilience, where is it the most important? For me, it's production. Resilience basically is defined on the basis of reliability. I think a lot of people have heard about reliability before, but let me just dig back into that in the terms of production. So reliability is the experience your customer or anybody who uses your product has on production. This could be, well, we all know production is the place where all assumptions come to die. Everything we've assumed would work might not. Everything we've assumed might break might not. So for our clients to have a reliable experience, we want to make sure that no matter what goes on in the background, they can still use your product, and reliably so. Resilience here is the difference, that resilience, what we invest into our workforce to make sure that reliability stays high. So resilience is the investment, and reliability is a result. And I want to talk to you about where to start, and I would like to argue that it's culture. You can obviously have the best tech stack dev team in the world. I would still argue that it comes down to culture to be reliable in the end. So culture is nothing more than like a commonly held set of beliefs. If we all believe that in order to be reliable, we should never deploy to production, it works, never touch it. That could be right. I think the majority of you know that's wrong. And that really, to deliver something that's reliable, we want to make quick changes that we can fix. So let's say a quick implementation of a fixing change after a breaking change has happened. And that gives us some kind of safety net. We do something wrong, we adjust. And by doing that and doing it fast, we actually get to the end of our journey much faster, instead of going all the way this way, waiting for a year to deploy, all the way that way, and so on. So I argue that you can find out a lot about your company's culture by looking at how you handle things where self-correction is most important. And this is the most dreaded thing in the world, an incident. Things have gone wrong. And that happened in prod. And you're probably getting calls, and you're probably getting pinged, and you probably have customers saying, what the hell is happening? So let's look at the culture here. If you can already fix your incidents fast, that's great. Let's start there. I think you have a lot of very great developers on a team, people who know the code well, they can fix it well. Fantastic. But I would like to invite you to invest in your culture even further, and don't just look at fixing, but look at analyzing. So as soon as an incident is over, what do you do as a company, as a culture? Do you investigate the incident? Do you do incident analysis? Who writes that analysis? Who reads that analysis? Do you have any points that you bring out from that incident that you want to implement in the future. Those kind of things matter when you think about resilience. And incident analysis can seem a little bit scary because it literally is you and your team looking at a mistake. That's not fun. You'd much rather look at something that went really well, but you have to look at the mistakes to fix them or to avoid them in the future. And you might ask yourself, why didn't we anticipate this? How could we not have seen this coming? How did we not test for this? And this is why I would like for you to make your first mindset change. If you don't realize it so far, an incident always means you have hindsight bias. You know more now than you did before the incident. You know what broke. You know what happened. So if you change your culture to account for human imperfection, which is, I hate to break it to you, probably applies to everybody here, but that's okay. If you factor in human imperfection, then what an incident really is a surprise. If you've ever been in an incident, it definitely feels like a surprise most of the time. If you can predict incidents, well done. You shouldn't have released that, probably. So let's rephrase that. No, we're not learning from incidents anymore. We're learning from surprises. And a surprise for us means that we don't really have that blame focus anymore. We don't really ask ourselves, why didn't we anticipate this surprise? That's not what surprises are. You shouldn't be able to anticipate surprises. So let's take that complex nature of tech and put it in our hearts that we are human people who work on very complex systems, and something will go wrong. And that's fine, because you can hopefully self-adjust and adjust quickly. And just like incidents, we can most of the time learn from these surprises. So I've just said before, resilience is a mindset change, and because a mindset is basically a commonly held system of beliefs, it's a culture change. So that was easy. Now you know. Goodbye. No, I want to actually talk to you about how this is done, because as much as you agree or disagree with me, I would like for you to take something home that's actually applicable. So this is the intro to how to become resilient as a team. Okay, how do we make a culture change? It's a learning loop. Everything that you want to do, in case you want to develop a habit, it's always a loop that has to repeat. So for example, let's focus on a value here. The value here is surprises will happen and we want to be able to cope with them. So you do something in the instance of a surprise, you observe and measure. You see, okay, this has gone down, can we monitor it? Do we need better monitoring in place in the future? You focus on the principles, what matters? Did the clients get impacted? Did we get stressed out? And then you figure out the processes. You think about, okay, next time we're gonna not forget to get everybody lunch, for example, because if you are hungry, you code much worse, in my opinion. And if you keep doing that, you develop a skill, you develop a habit, and you develop a practice that your whole company can adapt. And you could do this even in this situation. So this is a learning loop from an outage. You start at normal, things are good. It's a Friday afternoon, it's 5 p.m., you're closing your laptop, and just before it hits the keyboard, there's an outage. Yay. You have no choice but to put that beer to the side again and to start fixing, diagnosing, and detecting, or downing the beer and doing the same, no judgment. And you learn from it, and you improve your system. You fix the bug, you improve your system. That's great. Reactive learning is great, it's good, we get something from it, but proactive learning is where it's actually at. And this is where chaos comes into the mix. You get to embrace chaos with all of this. This is a quick plug. One of my coworkers wrote these books. Buy the books, they're great books, on chaos engineering. But because you don't have the ability to buy those books and read them in the next 20 seconds, let me summarize it for you. Chaos engineering is the discipline of experimenting on a system in order to build confidence in that system's capability to withstand turbulent conditions in production. And let me just be clear, turbulent conditions can be anything. You've probably heard of outages. You've probably heard of users. They're a very turbulent part of the system. So don't think this is just on a technical basis. This could be absolutely anything. So what do we do here? We actually just exchange a part of our learning loop. So instead of the normal and the incident happening at 5 p.m. on a Friday, you could schedule this. Not before lunch, not before the end of the day on Friday, but you can schedule it on a Wednesday morning or whatever. That's up to you. You still get to diagnose, fix, and detect. You get to learn. You get to improve your robustness. But the key here is that you have the learning loop of a chaos experiment, self-induced. You surface some dark debt, and by definition, dark debt is something that you could not have foreseen. So no one has to feel guilty about, why didn't we see this happening before? You learn and improve. You can test that your system will withstand that chaos, and you can continuously validate for it. You can say, okay, if we did run this again, it would still pass. You can go a step further and do continuous verification. So you've just come up with a really cool chaos exercise, you fixed it, write a test from it, or somehow make it part of your continuous delivery pipeline. You gain from this. And you can do this at absolutely any point of the business, at every layer. So for example, for people practices, you can put game days in. You can do automated experiments for applications, platforms, and the entirety of the stack. So what I'm basically saying is take your system and shake it. Shake as hard as you can. And this sounds stressful, and I don't like stress. So how do we make it less stressful? You might have guessed it. It's empathy. So empathy is the key and your superpower within chaos engineering that goes from something super stressful to something that can actually be quite fun. Resilience, as we know, requires learning, and it's a lot of work to set up those cultural conditions. But the most important thing is that we do all of this with empathy, because if not, you're basically just telling your workforce, I want you to stress yourself out every Wednesday morning. And that's probably not going to go down super well. So I'll demonstrate a little bit of empathy now. It's post-lunch. I personally don't like audience participation, so I'm going to ask you to participate invisibly. So if you are or you're not participating, completely up to you. I won't be able to tell the difference. So I would like for you to just listen to a situation I'm going to talk to you about in a second and monitor how you feel in that situation. Or have a nap, up to you. So the situation is the following. You find yourself in a dark room. In front of you is a table, and on the table is a bomb. You have tools in your hand that you think you should use to defuse this bomb, but you've never done it before. There's a couple of people scattered around in the room, and they're all kind of watching you, and sometimes they're not watching you, and you're sitting there shaking, just about to potentially blow up everybody in that room. So, personally, if I think about this, I feel stressed. I feel like I don't want to be in that position. I have not chosen a bomb diffusing career for a reason. I like my laptop, and I like that it probably won't explode. So that's situation A. Put yourself back in to that situation with a little twist. I'll say one sentence and monitor how you feel during that sentence. This is an escape room. The bomb's not real. The people are your friends. The tools are probably not even real bomb diffusing tools, but it's some sort of riddle that you have to get through together. You know, your friends are working on other problems. You can probably exchange the problems that you're working on with someone else if you don't want to do the bomb part. And no matter what happens, in like 2 hours, you'll probably get lunch. So to me, that's a huge difference. To me, I now feel like I've chosen the situation. I've probably paid for the escape room. I'm here with my friends. I know I'm supported. People won't die if I don't do this well. And I can always switch around. This is not a real life danger. So what you've just experienced is the first, and for me, probably one of the most important tools in the empathy toolbox, and that is the frame of reference. And I'm going to continue making a part of the speech that if you are a boss or a manager, try to stay with me. Because this might not be the most fun part to hear. This is your life, and these are real things that matter. This is family, health, friends, resources. We probably work because it's fun, but also resources. And in the bomb situation, when it was the bomb, these things were threatened, your health specifically. Now, let's look at something else. Work. Now you have projects, deadlines, and hierarchies that are a completely different frame of reference. That's why they're in yellow. These things sometimes creep into the life frame of reference. I'm pretty sure everybody's had that thing where you had a bad sleep or whatever, or you didn't really want to go to bed because you didn't figure it out just yet, or you're stressed on a Friday afternoon. You should be at the pub, but you're there fixing an incident. These things are stressful, not very comforting. So what I would like to say, and bosses and managers, please forgive me, they don't belong in the frame of life. They are not real. They are not really important. Just to demonstrate this, in case someone finds this counterproductive or counterintuitive, projects seem super important in the context of work. In the context of life, you've probably experienced this, that someone said, this project's super important, and then the next day they were like, oh, actually, this project is more important, so let's park this, let's do this instead. Deadlines are a really great organizational tool. They don't exist in real life. Things can change, things can be swapped, people get sick, people have holidays, deadlines don't exist, really. Hierarchy, another one of my favorites, does only make sense in the work frame of reference. If your boss came home to you and told you to plant tomatoes instead of peppers in your garden, you would be like, you have no power here. This is my own private garden. And that applies to life as well. Hierarchy might make sense to figure things out in the structure of a team, but your boss at work is not your real boss in life. These are important things to consider. I promise I'll make it a point in a minute. So if you use that contextualization and apply it to a chaos experiment, then you will see that just in the example of the escape room, it's not a real situation. It's real in the situation that, yes, you're actually causing chaos to your system, but you don't have to freak out about it as if it's life or death. You've chosen this, you know you can handle it, you have a team around you that is probably very much skilled to deal with it with you, and it's supposed to be fun, and you probably still get lunch. You might even get pizza for free, because this is a very interesting thing to tell bosses about, because it makes so much sense to surface that dark debt. Please give coding people more free pizza. Or gluten-free alternative. I don't want to discriminate. So the next very important point, which I think a lot of developers really struggle with, is acceptance and improvement. Acceptance is what you need to do in a difficult situation. Worrying about it doesn't change it a lot. Stressing about it doesn't change it a lot. You have to just accept things sometimes. Don't accept the status quo, but accept that the things are the way they are, and then you can make them better. For the Ärztefreunde in this audience, remember the sentence, it's not your fault that the world is the way it is, but it would be your fault if it stayed that way. That's the kind of attitude I'm going for. So let's say we've chosen as a friend group a Sherlock Holmes themed escape room. And now one of your friends is like, I hate Sherlock Holmes. I don't like that everything's Sherlock Holmes themed. Fair enough, but not really helpful in the escape room. So accept the things that you've chosen, the industry of engineering. Accept that the challenges that come with it are also something that come with it. So it's no point avoiding. It's a point like living through and surviving. And again, this is where empathy is a huge improvement, because we can also accept that we were part of the problem. But we can accept as people that we did the best that we did at the time. We didn't know better then. We didn't have the hindsight bias. So let's not blame each other for what we've done, but focus on the fact that we probably all did our best. This works specifically well if you find a piece of code and you think it's absolute crap, and then you realize you wrote it. So have that sort of compassion with yourself and with each other to realize, okay, we tried our best then, we can always make it better now. Diversity, big one. This is not just the general, although very important diversity chat, but diversity goes much bigger when you look at individuals. So I'm going to demonstrate that very quickly now because I'm a little bit running out of time. So we have 2 teams for the escape room, and we're now going to fill those teams. Team 1, member 1, a person who's a geography genius. They know everything. They know which capital belongs to which country. They know which shape the country has. So that's really great when you have a geography theme room, right? This is a good person to have. Person 2, another geography genius. Really great in case you have a geography challenge. If not, oh, okay, we have some more geography geniuses. This is going to be super great for a geography-themed room. Again, maybe not so great for everything else. Let's look at team 2. Geography genius. Seems to be many subject matter experts on a team at one time. Is that a good thing? We'll see. Ooh, we have a new person now. So this person is the detail diver. No matter what the system is, no matter what the problem is, these people will take a thing and run with it. They will really dig into, how did this happen? Why did we make that decision? Why specifically this detail? Super helpful. They will find all the hidden keys in that room that you might have overlooked. This is a big picture painter. This is a person that takes a step back and says, hold on, we're in a Sherlock Holmes themed escape room. Maybe there'll be some clues that we need to find. So they will keep the eye on the bigger picture for you. The acrobat. This is a person that doesn't really care about finding out what the problem is, but they care a lot about solving the problem. So for example, someone who's great at executing shell script in production. They know how to fix. They don't necessarily need to know what the issue is. They have other people to help them with that. My favorite one, the mood maker. If you have that friend and you know whatever you get up to with that friend will be a laugh, that's the person I mean. So this is the person that will remind you, listen, this is an exercise. This is supposed to be fun. If you're not having a lot of fun, let's try and switch it up. And the most undervalued and the most key member of every team, the fresh set of eyes. This is specifically important when you've done escape rooms for a living for quite some time. You think everybody does escape rooms for a living for quite some time, so they all know, we all know, but the thing is we find a thing, we solve the room, that's it. The fresh set of eyes comes in and then asks you all the questions you forgot to ask yourself. Like, what about this lever? What if we just pull that? You hadn't thought of that before. So the simple questions, the baseline questions. And that's really important, and also really important to really value in team members that might be new. So let's get into that a little bit more. Equality and inclusion in a way that really encompasses absolutely everybody. I've talked about the youngest member of the team potentially being the set of fresh eyes, but it's also really important to remind yourself in an inclusive way that you were once that fresh set of eyes. Or in a completely different framework, you might still be that fresh set of eyes. And that's a quality you shouldn't underestimate. That's a quality that's super important. You don't have a narrow viewpoint on this yet. You still have the complete horizon of opinions available to you. And in any other sense, if you are the geography expert, if you are the subject matter expert, remember that other people might be that person with a set of fresh eyes. My pet peeve is that people always say, oh, I prepared this talk, I want to invite some opinions, but no one wants to say anything. And the reason for that is that people don't like sounding silly. So if you want to have a really good discussion with people on all different levels, make sure that you level the playing field first. So maybe if you have a workshop on something, make sure you have a pre-workshop meeting where you just lay it all out. You say, okay, these are the assumptions I'm making. This is what I'm focusing on today. I want all of you to just come to this new meeting with an opinion. That's it. Not to prove that you know or don't know something. I just want to hear your opinion. And that's a way in which you can include people who might even have joined your team last week. If they get all the information that they need from you to contribute, they will. Lovely. Said all that, very good. So I would like for you to take from this that you can make chaos fun, and it can be a lot of fun. Chaos doesn't have to be scary. You all, that's an assumption. Some of you might really enjoy escape rooms. Ask yourself why. It's a challenge. We're all in this industry for a challenge. We want to figure out new problems. So why don't we actually do that and do it with fun and people who we enjoy working with? So please remind yourself that the core of all of this is empathy. Figuring out how you feel, how someone else might feel, and how you used to feel back in the day. And that could be applicable to other people at the point. And by inviting, you're always going to get many more valuable ideas, suggestions, than if you just assume everybody's comfortable. Make sure they are. So, thanks for your time so far. I think there's some questions. Oh yeah, we're hiring if you're interested in working with this team. Super empathetic lot, good fun. Shoot my manager a message. Thanks.
Thank you, Marlene. That was awesome. Right to the heart.
And just a quick one. If you want to learn a bit about empathy, I'm not paid by any of these people, but these are good books in case you just want to read up about it. So if there's a slide you want to take a picture of today, this is it. This is not it. This is not it. This is it. Yay.
Awesome.
I get no royalties for these. They're just good books.
Good. We have some minutes and some questions to you. First one, kudos, your session is loved. And first question, how do I build my own escape room?
How do you make your own escape room? Okay. First of all, have food there. This is important. I can't stress this enough. If you have, also, this is just, again, I need to push this. If you have an incident, make sure there's food there. No one's ever enjoyed coding on an empty stomach. And then if you actually want to build it, figure out what are the most, let's say, 5 recent incidents, and what do they have in common? What was the thing that surprised us? And then can we simulate that during a chaos day? And I would very much recommend that you go into a chaos day pitching it as, we're going to learn from this, and we're going to have fun doing it.
Wow, you really can ask that woman everything. She knows the answer.
Not everything.
So, another question. What happens at Friday afternoon when you're the only one left to solve the issue?
So what I always recommend, especially if you have an on-call rotation, is to not be alone on your on-call rotation. This is currently a little bit difficult because in my team we have 3 people who can be on call, so it's like every 3rd week. So doubling up with people is a little bit stressful because you don't want to be on call every day. But having a person who you feel comfortable escalating to and solving with, it most of the time is much, much, much more comfortable to have 2 weeks of 2 people being on call than 1 week of 1 person being on call. Because you can talk to each other about when you're going to be out. You definitely have a friend to do something with. And emotional support, I think, as we might all know, is the key element, and food, to solving incidents.
Yeah, I think the feeling of being not alone helps a lot. Yeah. Another question. Did you have work with katas and coding dojos? Is this something what would fit into your chaos theory?
If I knew what those were, maybe. I don't have any personal experience. I know what the words mean, but I haven't experienced that personally. Probably something to look into. But I just want to make sure that this isn't something you have to outsource. This is something you can do yourself.
All right, final question. What do you think about companies that do these chaos sessions without announcing them, so the employees don't know it is a chaos session?
I think that defeats the purpose a little bit. Okay, if you do that as a company, please ask yourself, why do you hate your employees?
All right.
Why do you invest in stressful situations? Because there are enough stressful situations already. You do not need to make more. If you think about when you yourself are your best at doing something, are you your best when you're stressed? No. I would be terrible in a bomb diffusing situation where it's an actual bomb. I'd be much better in an escape room because stress really does not make live coding. That's not fun, I think, most of the time. Sorry.
Thank you very, very much. I enjoyed your talk. And kudos to Marlene, please.